Ladies and gentlemen, not only did Iran turn out to be the bad guy in closing the Straits of Hormuz, now President Donald Trump has just turned US into a gangster, a mafia, collecting protection money for any ships that want to go through. And as a result, right now we are looking at the inflation situation in the world will get worse, and more importantly, interest rate is likely to rise and the stock market is likely to fall, and this is going to be bad. Please watch on till the end to realize how ridiculous this sounds. So, this is going to be a story of the world's most expensive gangster toll. And this goes back to those days when mafia, secret society, and bad guys could collect protection money to safeguard the people's interests, and that's really very bad. And as a result, right now, on top of all the rumbling that's happening between US and Iran, we now have the oil prices going above $80 US per barrel, and now America wants a cut and a piece of the juicy meat that's going through the Straits of Hormuz. So what Donald Trump has just announced, on top of what the Iranians have announced that they will shut the Straits of Hormuz down again. So Donald Trump said that, okay, the Straits of Hormuz is open. We will ensure it's open, but I will block all Iranian shipping and ports. That's great. Okay. You block all Iranian shipping and ports, you pressure them. But okay, the straits is now open for all non-Iranian traffic. We, okay, with our battleships and missiles and drones, will protect the Straits of Hormuz. So we are now the guardian of Straits of Hormuz. That's great. Okay, I appreciate this. Basket, he actually said this. I will charge 20% on all cargo shipped through the waterway, effective about 4 a.m. Singapore time on 15th of July. 20% protection money. So if your one barrel of oil right now is $85, he will slam 20% surcharge on it. Okay, we don't really know how the hell this is going to happen, whether it's going to be 20% on cargo, freight cost, how to invoice, how to pay, and what if we don't pay? Are you going to shoot the ship? Okay, and so on. So we're not going to sure, but clearly this is a form of gangsterism, and I'm surprised that the Americans actually voted for such a precedent. You good, you guys are good. So the Channel News Asia actually estimated based on the traffic that's flowing before the war and said that this could mean as high as $250 million a day just by collecting the toll. And that's going to be roughly about $7.5 billion a month. That's a hell of money. And this also means that the Brent crude price of $85 right now will surge to 100 over dollars effectively. And this is ridiculous, right? So this is also a highly inflationary move that Donald Trump is doing on the rest of the world. This is just outright gangsterism on top of the problem that they caused with the conflict with the Iranians. So just to put a update on where things are. So right now there are three waves of US strike already. So after the Iranians struck the vessels they are sailing through, the Americans went hitting at them again and again and again. So the Iranians, of course, are not sitting there collecting dust. They are outright, saying that this is a breach of the MOU. We're going to strike back, and so they did. They hit hard on Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Oman, and any naval vessel that's linked to the US, commercial tankers, and so on. So both sides are in an all-out war. It's total breakdown of peace. Okay, total breakdown of the MOU. But to be frank, we never thought that MOU would last long. But right now, the MOUs is totally disintegrated into dust. So the Iranians right now are attacking oil tankers. So the cruise missiles are now fired towards oil tankers, and we have got crew members now being killed, seriously injured, fire on board vessels, and this is really bad because this looks like the good old days early this year. So things are going back to an all-out war again, and that's really bad. Now, just to be very clear, right now per oil barrel is $80 over. If you slam 20% surcharge onto it, this would mean the oil prices go to 100 over dollars. And by the way, the oil price is still going up. So this is a cost on cost, and this is not what port handling fee or toll or whatever. This is just outright gangsterism, and this is going to cause the whole world's inflation to go even worse. Now, it's just not the price of oil we're talking about. Commodity prices will go up, and also we have got shipping insurance and all the associated fees will go up. LNG prices will go up. The petroleum derivatives will go up. Plastic will go up. A lot of things will just go up because of this blockade plus surcharge. And of course, at the end of it, it will all flow down to consumer. Consumer will be hit because at the end of it, someone has to pay for all these costs, and it's not going to be the government, it's not going to be Iran, it's not going to be Donald Trump, it's going to be all of us. So the companies will eventually raise prices because logistic prices has gone up. And guess what, guys? We're going to have an increase in inflation again. And when there's increase in inflation, you know what will happen? The interest rate will go up. So I do expect inflation to go up if this thing is not resolved quickly, and that's quite serious. So we already seen this happening in the early days of the war. It did cause things to go up ridiculously, but it came down. It came down, and there was kind of healthy recovery. Now it's just going back to the toxic days of inflation. Now, all the talks of rate cut, stabilization of inflation, the new Federal Reserve chairman, it's probably a person that's appointed with the intention of bringing rate cuts or at least stabilizing the interest rate. Right now, he will have no choice because he doesn't call the shot. He has a panel of FOMC board members that will vote to decide. And with this kind of situation, not only rate cuts will not happen, inflation is likely to happen, and you have no choice but to increase interest rate. An increased interest rate is likely to be very bad for stock market. So yesterday, the Nasdaq fell by 1.55%. The S&P 500 fell by less, roughly half of that. But it looks like things are looking bad. I think that tonight, if the situation continue to aggravate and worsen, things will look bad as well. But it's hard to say. Frankly speaking, uh, I think that the world is right now kind of got used to this, and this is very bad. But the the point on the rising inflation that leads to an interest rate rise, I don't think that is factored in the market yet. But people are used to the norm that oil prices are around $80 to $100. Now, it's worthwhile to talk about the failure of the MOU. So MOU right now, that was signed between the US and the Iranians, brokered by Qatar and the Pakistanis. It didn't just fail. Trust is totally broken. And this is the third time that a negotiation between the Iranians and Americans have failed. So there's no point going for another one. So I think right now a return to a deal is going to be difficult because who's going to enforce? Right? The United Nations going to enforce. The United Nations want to get themselves into this nonsense, and the Americans will find difficult to enforce. The Iranians will not let them enforce. And as a result, I think another round of peace agreement would be very difficult. And that's going to be really very bad economically for the rest of the world. So this one may turn into a sustained permanent issue at the Straits of Hormuz. Now, our only hope is that the oil flow out from the other places, plus China cutting down on its demand, all this will keep the oil prices not so high, but it will be still higher than what we have seen, that $68, which it was hit after the MOU was signed. So this is not really a talk about war, who's right, who's wrong, who's winning, who's losing, whatever. This is all about cost and inflation and interest rate and stock market impact. And we are on the new beginning of a conflict. So I think it deserves some attention. I'll keep watch on this very closely. I'll see you in the live stream tonight to update and see where things are going, and things will aggravate too. And maybe things will just recover magically. But let's see. I'll keep you updated. Okay, remember, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in a live stream tonight. Bye bye.